Today we're going to look at how we interpret words and sentences. That's the field of semantics. So far we know that human language consists of sounds, meanings, and sound-meaning associations. We have looked at sounds and how sounds are combined with meaning, and how these sound-meaning associations, words and morphemes, are combined to form complex expressions. What we're going to look at now is meaning. So, what is meaning? We are going to investigate this from a linguistic point of view. There are many philosophical questions that one could ask, but we're not going to do this here. As you know, there's nothing intrinsic in the sound that would lead you to think that it means what it means. Rather, the relation between the sound dog and its meaning is completely arbitrary. It is conventionally agreed upon that the word dog refers to the animal of the canine family. Now that's its conceptual meaning. Now many words have meanings that go way beyond what we conventionally agree to associate with them. So for those of you who love dogs, the word dog is associated with positive connotations. But for those of you who are afraid of dogs, it may have some negative connotations, bringing about an uncomfortable feeling, if not fear. Now there are some words which are associated with negative connotations across the whole speech community. So if I ask you what the word for a female dog is, you will tell me, well, that's called a bitch. But that's a pretty loaded word. It has lots of negative connotations, because that very same word is often applied to women. When you refer to a woman as a bitch, you are leaving the conceptual meaning behind. And now it's not just some individuals who will have strong associations with the use of this word, but the whole speech community does. Using this word may cause strong reactions, so much so that when you want to tell someone not to call someone a oops, you can even say, don't use the B word, or the F word, the N word, the S word, or whatever it is. So some words have meanings that relate to our emotions more than others. So in addition to their intrinsic meaning, you may call it the literal or conceptual meaning, words can have associative meanings. In addition to the conceptual and associative meanings, the interpretation of a word is also affected by its distribution. There are certain parts of the interpretation that come about just because of the way words combine with each other. That's part of your tacit knowledge of syntax. Take, for example, the words house and cat. There are two compounds that I can create, house cat and cat house. If you know English, you will know what each of these words mean. You won't have a problem identifying this as the house cat. It is not a cat house. This is the cat house, and it does have a house cat in it. So a house cat is a kind of cat, and a cat house is a kind of house. We know this because in English, the right-hand member of a compound determines the core meaning of the entire compound. We call this the head of a word. The head determines the core meaning, as well as the category of the word. So for example, blackboard is a noun because board is a noun. The fact that black is an adjective doesn't influence the category of the compound at all. So we observe that the combinatorial rules influence the interpretation of words. This is also true for the combinatorial rules of sentences. In certain syntactic configuration, a phrase is interpreted as an agent. So if a sentence is in the active voice, the subject is the agent and the object is the patient. There is nothing intrinsic about Pac-Man that says Pac-Man is an agent. Rather, this interpretation comes about because of the way Pac-Man is integrated into the syntactic structure. If we switch things around, Pac-Man is no longer the agent. In A Ghost is Chasing Pac-Man, Pac-Man is the patient, and Ghost is the agent. So the semantic role is not part of the meaning of the word or the phrase. It is part of the meaning of the phrase in the syntactic context. So far, we've seen two semantic roles: the agent, whoever is doing something, and the patient, whoever has something done to them. This role is sometimes referred to as the theme. But in other contexts, nominal phrases can bear other roles as well. So, for example, in the context of a psych verb, like scare, the object is interpreted as an experiencer. The samurai is not an agent. He is experiencing no fear. In this sentence, the Pied Piper is luring the children with his flute. The flute is interpreted as an instrument. It's something the Pied Piper is doing something with. In the sentence, the train is stuck in the train station, the train station is interpreted as a location. And in the deer is drinking from the creek is interpreted as a source. So there are a number of different semantic roles a nominal phrase can be associated with. None of these roles are intrinsically associated with the noun itself. They come about because of the syntactic context. However, not every noun can bear every semantic role. Consider again the experiencer role. The noun phrase, the warrior, can function as an experiencer. The noun phrase, the dog, can function as an experiencer. And the noun phrase, the Jabberwocky, can also be an experiencer. But the noun phrase, the tree root, is not a good experiencer. Neither is the noun phrase, the cloud, nor is the noun phrase, the rock. All of the noun phrases that can serve as an experiencer have one thing in common. The noun that acts as the head of the phrase refers to something that is capable of holding a mental state. That's a common semantic feature of the nouns that can be used as experiences. Okay, now we know that the way words are combined to form sentences affects the interpretation of the words. But what we don't know yet is what a sentence means. It's actually not a trivial question. What's the meaning of a sentence? Consider this sentence. The VP coops the sake to sitter molently. What does it mean? I guess you have no idea. Now, what about this sentence? Martina Wilczko's mother's name is Heidelise. What does that mean? I think you know what it means. It means that Martina Wilczko's mother's name is Heidelise. Duh. But what's interesting about this sentence is that you know what it means even if you don't know if it's true. You don't know whether Martina's mother's name is Heidelise. But what you do know is what the world has to look like for this sentence to be true. That's what it means to know the meaning of a sentence. To know what a sentence means is to know what the world has to look like for the sentence to be true. And that's what linguists call truth conditions. When we know the meaning of a sentence, we know the conditions that must hold for the sentence to be true. That's what truth conditional semantics is all about. And when you study truth conditional semantics, you will find out that there are some sentences that are always true. Take, for example, this sentence. She loves me, or she doesn't love me. that's always true. That's just because if I say either or, one of the options must be true. We call a sentence that's always true a tautology. You simply cannot have a situation in which two contradictory options are both true. So this sentence must be false. It's called a contradiction. Now you may say, well, that's not quite true. I can think of a meaning where this sentence is not a contradiction. What if she sometimes acts as if she loved him, but sometimes as if she doesn't? But now we are getting in the domain of sentence use. Humans are designed to interpret at all costs. So even if we say something that literally doesn't have a truth condition because it must be false, we are still tempted to interpret this sentence as meaningful. The way we do this is studied in another subdiscipline of linguistics, namely pragmatics. But that's a topic for another occasion.